Hello, my name is Marcus Carlton-Jones and you're very welcome to this Meet the Professionals global event. If any of this video seems a little bit discontinuous, it's because we've re-recorded some parts of it due to some technical problems we had on the day that we broadcast this live on the 23rd of October 2020. So I'm going to recover the same content and hopefully all of the technical issues will not reappear. So firstly, I'm the International Alumni Relations Officer at the University of Manchester. My job is to help alumni worldwide connect with each other, to form organised groups and to gain the value that is to be had out of the alumni network, and also to connect you to the University of Manchester through our engagement programmes. I always make a point to draw alumni's attention to the fact that you've got an enormous asset as a graduate of the university. You are part of the largest alumni community for any UK university, and that means there are 500,000 alumni and counting around the world, working in every kind of profession you can think of. My question to graduates at this point is, do you know how to connect to your local alumni association? Very often the answer is, I didn't know there was one. So this next slide is designed to help you get there. There are two QR codes here, one labeled Global Network, that will take you to the alumni website where you'll find contacts for all of the established alumni groups we've got around the world. For any WeChat users, particularly in mainland China, you may be also interested to know there's a China Alumni Association with an official account on WeChat, and I've provided the QR code for you to find that there as well. There's also another tool which is very much worth exploring, which is available through LinkedIn. It's the alumni search tool. It's a feature of the University of Manchester's page on LinkedIn. And I've provided another QR code to help you find that. Essentially, it allows you to browse the 230,000 plus LinkedIn users who are graduates of the university, and it allows you to search based on degree subject, location, employing company, and a number of other features as well. So for example, if you're looking for a graduate who's studied the same subject as you, or is working in a sector or a company that you're interested in, you're very likely to find them using that search tool. I use it frequently, and I highly recommend graduates and students use that to browse and to connect with alumni as well. We've got a very active program of events, many of which have been adapted and converted to delivery online, which makes it available to a global audience, notwithstanding time zone differences. For any of our events online or in the future in-person events, you can find them on our website, and again I've provided a QR code to give you a shortcut to get there. More and more of our events are being recorded and will be available through our website as well. Finally, if you are considering further study, we've got an equally large program of online and blended learning. Individual programs, you may find there is a loyalty discount for alumni, so there is a discount on tuition fees if you're already a graduate of the university. Again, the QR code is provided on the screen there, and also if you wish to contact the Division of Development and Alumni Relations, you'll find here the telephone number, email address, and our landing page. If you've got any questions which relates to anything I've said today, feel free to email us, mark it for my attention, Marcus, and that'll reach me. I'm going to hand over here through a rather clumsy video edit to my colleague Nalene Hammond-Jones, who will tell you more about the careers service. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. So I'm Nolene Hammond-Jones. I'm the International Career Consultant at the University of Manchester. So I'm just going to run through what we do at the Career Service and the various services you can avail. So we are the most targeted university in the UK by the top 100 graduate recruiters, supporting employers to engage with our international talent, and we have a great connection with our international employers globally. Kiri, who's also on the line, although you've not seen her yet, she manages all our international employer engagement and all of our international employer events. Supporting our graduates, you can see that we are the most targeted university by graduate employers according to High Flyers research for 2 years running. So we have quite an established reputation with employers worldwide. We are building up our employer portfolio at the moment as well, consistently doing our business development and raising the visibility of the University of Manchester globally. Fifth best university in the UK for graduate employability. We have a dedicated international team, and we work collaboratively across the university with our alumni team and our international recruitment team in order to help our students access global opportunities. And also, for those of you who are still studying or have recently graduated, you can avail of career services for up to 2 years after you graduate. So whether it's career change, or you're feeling like you've made the wrong decision, or you're feeling a bit confused about what are the next steps, you can contact the career service and we can help you with that. A selection of our recruiters. This is just a very small selection of our recruiters. These are ones that we've worked with most recently. They are worldwide, so it's not just in one region, and we work with them on a number of different levels in terms of supporting recruitment talks, panel events, sharing their vacancies, sharing their events that they're running. A lot of employers are currently running online special discussions around leadership topics, around areas that would really interest a graduate. So special speaker series is becoming more common, and we share those with our students as well. In addition to that, we have support available to our students and graduates. So that includes our recently redesigned website. So over the summer, and obviously with the way things are at the moment, we needed to make our website more accessible, more interactive. So we included more online resources that you can use. In addition to that, since March, we've run a huge number of online virtual events and are continuing to do that. We are looking at different ways of doing this so that we can keep these events engaging and interactive. We have the latest labour market information. We get this from a number of different sources. Kiri is great at collating this information as well from our employers globally. We have networking opportunities that we run online, social media platforms. We run webinars and do videos that you can find on our YouTube and Yoku sites so that you can access recordings. In addition to that, you can access guidance with myself or one of my careers consultant colleagues. We run 30-minute guidance appointments, and we also run CV and application checks as well. Interview simulations, psychometric tests, skills sessions, and we have run a series of virtual careers fairs. Now, we will also be running a careers fair in March 2021. So I'll go on to that now. We have dedicated employer support, as I said, with access to a diverse talent pool of 11,500 international students. So any of our alum out there, if you are in a position where you want to hire from the University of Manchester, please contact myself or Kiri. We support you with access to our online jobs and events portal. We have support and facilitation of online events to our GoToWebinar platform, which is what we're using today. In addition to that, we have opportunities to take part in our monthly panel events, which have proven to be really popular, with an average attendance of 300 to 400 students per event. And also opportunities to take part in our newly launched Asia Careers Insight series, which is going to happen in March 2021. That is going to be a month-long series of events, including workshops, panel discussions, recruitment webinars, videos, and we're going to keep it really interactive. And we already have 30 employers signed up from all over Asia. So it's going to be a really diverse event that we're really excited about. So at that point, I'll end on a high note. I'm going to hand over to one of our alum, Raman Talwar. He is CEO and founder of Simulanis, which is based in India. And Raman is going to be talking to us today around Agile working. So Raman, I've just made you presenter there, so you should be able to share your slides. Fantastic. Great. And yeah, fantastic. So I'm just going to mute and turn my camera off, and thank you for your talk.
Thank you. So in this webinar, I'll just talk you through some of the things which, of course, you can do in this post-COVID world in terms of improving upon, just the employability part, and also taking you through some of the things which we have done and I've done after graduating from the University of Manchester. So a bit about my background to start with. I did my schooling in Delhi, DPS Puram, finished that in 2006, then went to Manchester, studied chemical engineering there, and then started working. Started working there in the UK. So started my professional career as a wastewater treatment R&D engineer in 2011. Then got headhunted to work for Reckitt Benckiser in the UK in 2012. So worked in the manufacturing side of things. And then moved to India and worked for Jacobs, and eventually started Simulanis as my own company. Done decently academically over the years, won a lot of awards when I was there at the university. I was academically inclined to start with, and then when I started professionally, then also kind of did fairly well for myself, and then kind of started Simulanis, and then the journey of winning a lot of awards with Simulanis also started. So I'm a national award-winning entrepreneur in terms of the work which you've done over the years, and I can share a lot of experience, a lot of my own experience to help you guide through this tough and turbulent time. So just to give you a brief background, so we as a company are involved in the training and productivity space. So what we do is we build a lot of VR/AR applications and simulations so that people within this sector, various industries across pharma or automotive, FMCG, can actually leverage upon ensuring that the people can get trained and they become more productive on the shop floor. In terms of where we are, so we started this category in 2014. It was very niche and new. When we started, it was very innovative. Now we're one of the category leaders in the space. You can check our website out for more details, of course. And in terms of the actual kind of theme of this presentation, I'm just gonna take you through what the impact of COVID-19 has been. Of course, it's something which has been prevalent for a while now, and we don't need any second guesses as to what it has done to the entire economy and the entire supply chain. Markets have been disrupted, supply chains have been affected. The consumer sentiment continues to be poor. The travel, tourism, and hospitality sectors are very badly impacted. A lot of impact on the job market as well. Salary cuts are happening, offer rollbacks are happening. A lot of promotions in companies are being put on hold as well. Companies in general are on a cash conservation mode. Of course, schools and colleges, they're all working more on an online fashion. And it has had a tremendous impact on the global economy. Of course, the baseline scenarios were there when when the lockdowns all started, but I think the real picture is more is not so good in terms of all the countries which are there, and the growth rates definitely have plummeted. The outlook remains poor. So of course, we're looking at a V-shaped recovery, but it is going to be quite a hard climb up back there. The worst case and the best case, I believe we're looking at a range between that of negative growth. In terms of labor market, just a bit of a statistic on screen, as you can see, of course, more of the work is now shifting towards more of the work opportunities, in fact, are coming as work from home opportunities, which is very much the case. But in typical sectors like manufacturing, of course, that doesn't apply. So if you're anywhere in that sector, of course, that definitely means that it's a longer wait to get those opportunities. And of course, if you're more IT oriented, then quite naturally the work from home opportunities are there, and of course, that's something which you can take up. Now, what can you do in such a climate, really? So I think the real one thing which you can really see through from what you see on screen is that you can really, some of the companies, of course, you can get very entrepreneurial with your approach. Some of the best companies which you see now were born out of recessions. So there are certain sectors like EdTech and e-commerce which are definitely up on the climb right now. So the focus can be shifted there. There's a huge push towards online learning. and skilling from home. So that's something which can be done. All the focus is very much online and trying to go automated as much as possible. Most of the companies are going through a digital transformation period as well in a post COVID-19 world, and that is where I think there is enough time for you to kind of network and see opportunities within this theme, because that's what the new world and the new normal is all about. So it's all about challenging yourself, which is basically going to lead you to the path of growth. And I'll just kind of talk a bit about the sector trends. So sector-wise, telecom, healthcare, e-commerce, and what we do, of course, it's on the rise. These technologies will see through. I think they are not, they've not seen the bad side of COVID, of course. E-commerce and telecom, definitely, I think there is a lot more action happening in those fields. Across from an India sentiment market, of course, the MSMEs have taken a hit in terms of employments. So definitely the numbers have reduced. And in terms of the bounce back recovery, that's also not such a kind of a kind of a very good scenario. And in terms of this outlook for the future, I still feel that the recovery for MSMEs is going to be longer as opposed to typical the corporate sector in India from an India perspective. There is a lot of push towards cost cutting. There is need to do more from less. So that basically means that if of course people are trying to cut short their employees, number of employees, then that definitely means that they will need lesser people to do more of the jobs, and that can only happen if there is more automation. There's of course focus on more consulting roles. We as a company are also kind of working on that note and have opened up a lot of opportunities for consulting. And of course, definitely online platforms are out there in terms of skilling, in terms of hackathons, and in terms of really get seen by the employers. I've seen that as a rising trend in a lot of different sectors. A lot of competitions and a lot of tech competitions are being thrown out by larger companies so that they can address the pressing needs and the challenges which are coming their way, and getting them solved in a very frugal manner. And that's exactly the way to forward. I think technology definitely is the actual answer to all the problems which are there in terms of bridging the gap. Of course, it has to be a value add, of course, for companies as well, and everything is more return on investment oriented, and that is where the message to the students is all about ensuring that they can have as big as a value add. And I'm coming towards the end of the slides, of course. More of it is down to the message I wanted to share, which is the skills profile which you need for the future. I think COVID-19 has made all these skills very relevant. So if you felt that in 2015 you needed all those skills and you had to kind of demonstrate them on your CV, then I would definitely urge you to think a bit broader, because in 2020 I think there's more push on certain skills which are different from typical skills like decision making, judgment, creative thinking, critical thinking, people management. I think these skills have definitely changed, and a lot more of these kind of new skills have been added into the portfolio when it comes to skilling. Now, in terms of a framework and profile, I would just kind of make you think towards this framework of AAA. It's more along the lines of agility, adaptability, and alignment. I think agility is the key, which basically makes you move faster. It helps you to quickly gain new skills. Adaptation is quite important, so technology has to be embraced. There are no two ways about it. And lastly, alignment. If changes are occurring frequently, then you have to make sure that you align to all those rapid changes that are happening, and those could be at the workplace. So if there are more work from home opportunities, of course they have to be grabbed. If there are more consulting opportunities, they have to be grabbed as well. So agility remains the key. It's all about being flexible. It's all about being open to contract-based opportunities. You need to start creating on your own brand, which you can do through a lot of frugal and innovative ways. You can build your own website to start with. You need to be innovative and resourceful. You need to be thinking of how you can add value. It's also very important to embrace the digital, and I think that's where the agility actually lies in, because most of the workplaces are looking for people who can embrace the digital. So, and just to kind of end this slideshow and kind of put it together, an advice which I would give to my younger self, if of course I was in your shoes, then I would tell myself not to be rigid at all. So you need to think broadly, and you need to think of all skills which can be added to your portfolio. You need to really learn people management, because I think that's the most important skill which you will realize in the subsequent years. And your build skills in finance, I think that's one thing which I can definitely say from my own experience. Helps you along personally in life, of course, and in entrepreneurial ventures as well. As I realized, of course, the hard way. You got to take more risks whilst you can. Think about the larger picture and work hard very wisely. On that note, I think it's a very wise suggestion to know your energy vampires. Now, energy vampire is a concept of knowing where you're unknowingly spending your energy. So it's important to know what your energy vampires are and focus on the right things, because this time doesn't, of course, come back. And if you spend your hard work in the wrong direction, then you'll only repent it later on. So in summary, I think the post-COVID-19 world is definitely going to change, as you've seen around you right now. You got to stay still confident. You need to learn more online for it, use this time well. All of these things are becoming quite cliched. I think people have started embracing the change anyway. But the one thing is for sure that you need to think out of the box. Need to practice digital skills as much as possible. Network extremely well online, offline. Don't stress at the end of it, and everyone is the same boat, of course. This too shall pass. So have that confidence, and that's the last message. So with that, I end my presentation. Nolene, happy to, of course, for you to take this over from me.
Thank you, Raman. Yes, so let me just get the information up and I can share the slides with you right now. So if you do have a question for Raman, please post them in the questions area. I'm just sharing the last slide here. And we can read. So how do you know you are wasting your energy in places which is not fruitful for you? Raman, that's the latest question that's come in. So sorry if I rephrase that again. How do you know when you are wasting your energy in places that are not going to be useful to you?
Right, tough one. I think it's a massive, like very important quote, which was by Steve Jobs. You can only connect the dots backwards. So I can only think back and tell you that I was wasting my time and energy in a lot of different things. Of course, I felt at that time, I think I could have spent a lot more time on gaining skills, which could have made me more workplace ready. I think more along the lines of, embracing digital. I think at the time of when I graduated in 2011, the digital kind of side of things, like marketing and embracing and just kind of building your own brand and profile. I remember LinkedIn was very new at that time, and networking with professionals was not a big thing at that point. Of course, now things have changed. I think that's something definitely people could really embrace. And I realized, of course, that was the pivotal kind of point in terms of networking with people. I realized that I was not really spending the right amount of time networking the people I should have networked with. So that was the biggest regret, I would say. You need to have, of course, used your time wisely. You need to build your connections in the right possible manner. I felt they connect with industry. I was wasting more time in terms of probably trying to find the wrong sets of people within the industry I wanted to know, instead of really knowing them. So I would say that would be the one thing, of course. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. The only thing I can say is that you can only kind of connect the dots backwards. But the one thing which definitely is important is the right networking approach to know who sort of people will really help you in the future. And other than that, I think it's all about skills building as well. So that's my response to it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we do say that if you're struggling to identify your strengths, those are things or actions or tasks that you do that really energize you, that you're excited about doing. So if there are tasks that you're doing that you're demotivated or you're feeling that they're draining you, then those are areas that you can be aware of that potentially are not skills of yours. So they could be identified as skills gaps, certainly something that you want to do. And something that you want to work on over time, but ultimately that's not what motivates you, and it wouldn't be considered a strength. So I'm going to go into my presentation now. So this is just a really short presentation because we've had a lot of queries at the Career Service around online presence and how important is it now and what's happening. And this just it feeds in really well with agile working and being online more and being adaptable. So the importance of your online presence. What you say about yourself online really reflects on your personal brand, and you've got to be really careful because once you put something out there, it's out there. And if you're an employer, and I know Raman is, he's a CEO and founder of his own company. I know employers are doing more online research of potential candidates and employees because we don't have those opportunities in the current climate to do a lot of that face-to-face discussion. So it is important that what you put out there online on personal social media or on LinkedIn is a real reflection of you and what you want people to see of you. Now, we talk about why it's important and why you should care about your online presence. It's lower in cost, so it's something that, you know, it can be quick and easy to do. So lower in costs to your time. Financially, it's quite, all the social media platforms are free. Your information is accessible to recruiters via LinkedIn, so you can be searchable, as we put it. You can share your top achievements. So unlike a CV, you're not limited to 1 page or 2 pages. You can be flexible with what you project online, and you can also be quite innovative as well with how you share your expertise and knowledge. You know, be the brand representative a company is looking for. You know, if an employer comes across your, you know, your social media, are you happy with what they will find? And that's something you need to ask yourself. And going back and doing an audit of what you have on your social media platforms is important. It's more up to date than a CV. So the information you put on the internet, put on LinkedIn, social media platforms, is more up to date. So it's something that you can really adapt in real time. And it's visual and can appeal to a wider selection of employers. So employers are looking for you to be connected. So we will talk to our panel about this and the importance of being connected and how that can be done in a time where some of you may be feeling more isolated. But it's important to embrace online technology and platforms in order to build your network. Even if you don't see immediate benefits of building the online network, it is important to look at how you can do that. And being competitive, it's really important right now because we are looking, in comparison to opportunities this time last year, a reduction in those opportunities. So we need to be competitive and innovative in what we put out there. So if you're looking to get yourself ahead in a creative industry, think creatively about how you're going to project and articulate what you have to offer an employer. And that leads into being innovative. You know, if it's a video CV or an online portfolio or platform or blog or vlog, talking about what you have in terms of skills and knowledge and expertise and qualifications, then you're making yourself more searchable and more accessible to employers. And it's important that you really think about what it is that you want to say about yourself and what it is that you have to offer. Boost your prospects and have at least a LinkedIn profile. The reason I say that is I have heard of quite a few instances where an employer's interviewed somebody via Zoom or Skype and it's gone really well, but unfortunately that person either hasn't really developed their LinkedIn profile or they've just started it, but there's no picture, there's no information. It makes people uncomfortable. If you haven't invested the time in who you are online, then people become a little bit unsure of how to engage with you. For instance, if someone asks to connect with me and there's no profile picture and there's no information, or at very least there's just 2 links to 2 universities in terms of their education, I'm wondering, are you a real person? What is your motivation for wanting to connect with me? And we are suspicious. So if you are going to create a LinkedIn account, invest the time in doing that and do that right, but do it at the very least, because that's the first place an employer is going to look when they have your application for a job. Top tips. So be up to date. This includes all social media channels, LinkedIn, websites, online portfolios. If you're on GitHub, for instance, make sure that you're active, you're contributing to problem solving. Blogs and vlogs are kept up to date, and that you're at least trying to publish something once a month at the very least, but looking as if you're producing information quite regularly. Be accessible and approachable, and make sure that you check your messages regularly on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on your social media, your Instagram. These are all really important because recruiters can reach out to you in a number of different ways. So ensuring that if you have an online presence, that you are engaged in it. And be authentic. So we know we live in a world where filters are commonplace and we all love to use a filter. But equally, not being genuine can work against you. So be as authentic as you can be. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, having an interview in your pajamas if you're the kind of person who likes to be in your pajamas all day, as we all do, like being comfortable. But I am talking about getting across genuine experiences, genuine passions, your creativity. And don't be influenced by others online and what they're doing, or compare yourself. You need to value what you do and who you are, because if you don't, an employer won't. And be strategic. Consider what and how you share content. So you need to think really, who am I? Where is my energy? Where is my passion? You know, it goes back to Raman's presentation. You need to understand where your strengths are and how you can share that appropriately. Okay, so we're going to move on to, I'm not going to take questions because I want to get back to the best bit, which is our panel event. So I'd like to ask all the panelists if they can turn their cameras and their microphones on, and I will ask them to do a brief introduction for their, there we go, brief introduction to there. Brief introduction to there. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, and we're just waiting on Raman. Okay, so yes, if have that, can we start with you, Ria? If you can do just a brief introduction.
Hi guys, I'm Ria Balsara. I have essentially worked in the HR field for 10 years. Every time I say that number, it's been 10 years. Purebred HR, essentially across a few worked in the UK and worked in the East. Now I'm currently based out, and for the last 4 years I've been working with our team. So that's everything about me. Very quick question. To help in any way possibly can. Also, just a little bit to add on. So because I'm actually running a from the startup, and we actually like ourselves and work with us. So it would be to hear from you.
Thank you, Ria. I think there is a slide.
Thank you, Ria. I think there is a slide
connectivity, and we can hear an echo, and hopefully should be able to leave and join the session again. So let's try our best. There she goes. I think she's managed to mute herself.
Hi everyone, sorry about that. Go to webinar froze and kicks me out. So is everyone else hearing an echo on the Okay, so if I could just double check. Can we all mute ourselves to begin with, just to make sure? Okay, so I'm not causing the echo. Riddy, can you turn your microphone on, please? Okay, so the echo. Yeah, it might be you, Riddy.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. If you mute yourself again, and I'm just going to check Ria. Ria, if you can put your. Okay, so I don't think I'm getting any. No, I'm not getting feedback from Ria. So yeah, it's Riddy's microphone. Riddy, if you can just stay muted, and then when we ask a question, is that okay? And then we won't get the feedback loop. That's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so I'm really sorry about that. I got kicked out. So Ria, have you finished introducing yourself then? Okay, can we move on to Shan? If you can introduce yourself, that'd be fantastic.
Sure. Is that clear for everybody?
Yes.
All right. Hey, everyone. Good to be here with you all, talking about the future of work. I'm Sean. I essentially have been involved in a transformation project of a family business that's been around since 1995. We started, our story basically takes us back to us starting a business that is core to everything we're doing today, which is really talking about the future of ed and work. Back in 95, the founders of our company essentially thought about bringing international education to India and creating sort of a paradigm in which we could broaden the opportunity frame and the horizon of people thinking about the future of careers and work and types of courses they wanted to do. And at that time, there wasn't really any formal infrastructure to be able to do that. So we created that in India. For universities, we were solving the problem of essentially recruiting talent. And we built a near monopoly business in that up until 2010. Post 2010, we went through rapid commoditization in the market. And since 2016, when I've been involved in the business, we've fundamentally transformed the company, really around, driven by two questions. One was, how do we reimagine ourselves to stay relevant in what was becoming a very commoditized marketplace? And the second, to essentially accelerate ourselves into the age of the internet, in which consumer behaviors change so much. There's more and more self-service, transparency. So how do we stay relevant to the next gen in a world in which information has become a commodity and there's an abundance of choices available? So that's essentially driven our entire transformation, where today we've gone from a brick and mortar business, office-centric, real estate-centric, into a completely digital by default business. We're a platform brand today, and we're introducing an entire ecosystem of products. We're just to fundamentally describe what we're doing is we're basically providing a self-service ecosystem for students to be able to go from search and discovery all the way to placements in the international education journey, which is backed by community because it's a very high human and emotion-centric business. And for universities, we're giving them an infrastructure to be able to market themselves, brand themselves, and have an analytics engine to be able to recruit the next generation of talent. So that's essentially the two sides of our business, and excited to be here talking to you guys about the future of work and things that you guys can do to position yourselves for this really exciting world that we're in today.
Thanks, Sean. That's brilliant. Riddhi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Am I audible? Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Riddhi Vishwanathan, and I am currently a social entrepreneur supported by the Manchester Entrepreneurship Centre, which is also called the Masood Entrepreneurship Centre. And I am currently leading my startup, Generation Purple. Generation Purple is a recruitment technology platform which aims to enhance diversity in graduate recruitment. So our mission is to help students from underrepresented communities, mainly the students from the British Asian minority ethnic backgrounds, LGBTQ+ students, disabled students, students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, and international students into corporate workplaces, while at the same time helping corporate employers build inclusive workplaces, because diversity is a very big issue that's facing corporate employers today. So we are also, again, very much corely based on a social mission, which is aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of reducing inequalities. So my background since graduation from the University of Manchester in 2017 in business and economics has been around advocating for diversity and inclusion, because I got elected as the first international student president of the Students' Union. I served as a student union representative for 2 years, where I was bestowed with an amazing opportunity of leading the union as a trustee. And that kind of helped me develop a lot of skills, and I realized my passion for the education sector, which helped me then, find my own education ed tech startup, if I have to say, which is Generation Purple. While I was working at the union, I also took up a voluntary position at the National Union of Students as the overseas representative, where I got to represent almost 400,000 students in the UK from 192 countries. So very quickly speaking about the future of work, currently as a recruitment technology company, I am currently helping students, recent graduates get into jobs, and what kind of work the best for them are 3 skills, which are communication, and as Raman told earlier, the digital skills, and of course networking. And with these 3, I think we've been able to successfully place students. And if any of you here are looking to start a work experience with a firm like ours, please, happy to kind of connect with you outside of this to take it forward.
Thanks, Riddhi. That's fantastic. Raman, is there anything else that you would like to add? I know that you did a brief introduction at the start of your presentation, but is there anything else that you would like to add before we go to questions?
No, I think we can go straight to questions. I think I spoke about myself, so might as well just start.
Fantastic. Right. So one of the first questions, which I think is really important, especially in the current climate, is any advice or guidance you have around connecting online or virtual connections for our audience today, because I know that a lot of our students and our alum are in various different areas of the world, but are feeling this sense of isolation. It can differ from sector to sector. Some sectors are used to working remotely and used to that remote connections and building their network online, whereas others, this is a new process and a new experience. If I could get your views on this first, Sean, what you feel the benefits of online connection are, any advice and guidance you can give.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if we sort of take a step back to consider this, we're fundamentally living in a world in which the struggle that we have as consumers and people that are going to be involved with work is not really a scarcity of choice, but an abundance of it. And with that modern struggle comes the fact that our attention is fundamentally being refactored by data, behavioral and neuroscientists, basically factories of people that are sort of creating, an addictive and weaponized paradigm. And so I think the ultimate sort of skill set for us in that day and age is to realize that learning to resist this abundance is equally important to being able to leverage it, which brings you to the second point of sort of the fact that we got to recognize that we're living in a world of infinite leverage. And so you can take actions that can be multiplied by 1,000-fold. You can broadcast today. Fundamentally, anybody can have their own media empire. You can write code. You can, write content, create creative. And so with all these things comes the impact of having infinite leverage, where you can reach tens, thousands, and tens of thousands of people as essentially having something interesting to say, right? So a clear mind in which you're able to balance this duality of information abundance, which is creating this addictive paradigm, but also to be able to leverage that creates a tremendous amount of arbitrage and advantages and capitalization for you. So when it comes to online, I think what people really got to figure out is, do they have something? I mean, do they have a clear passion right now or clear interest that they can leverage and expand on online? Because the moment that becomes clear, you also go to platforms where you find types of people that are basically talking about things that you're interested in. So I, for instance, I've come to the online party quite late. I just didn't find my vibe on social media at any point in time, and so it's taken me quite a while to come and find myself. And Twitter's something that I love now. I use it all the time, and the reason is because I've been involved with engineering and technology so much in the last year, 12, 18 months. It's where I find the most amount of information and learning for what I'm doing currently. And so, your Twitter feed, your LinkedIn sort of content becomes your CV rather than your CV being your CV. So when I want to, for instance, hire somebody, I'll always check them out on Twitter. I'll always check them out on LinkedIn and see what sort of content they're posting. If they have a unique perspective of the world, is there some sort of independent thinking that they're demonstrating, which I would really value it up for them, because you want to find missions. That's what you really want to find. You want to find not a company, but a mission, something that's really important to you. And for us, the mission is to advance and catalyze world citizenship at scale. And so we believe in this idea of a borderless world in which we're prospering world citizenship by giving people the access to international education. So we want to see a world in which people fundamentally believe in that. And so I think anyone who's really interested in trying to expand in their learning and being able to really go into the world of infinite leverage, you want to figure out where are the people and what are they talking about related to what you want to do, and sort of participate in that. And the more you do that, the more leverage you have with employers as well.
Thank you, fantastic. Ria, what's your insights on this?
This is actually, I think, a question that I think everybody has, and it's a very valid question to have. There's one thing I really do want to call out. The students might feel in this space of they're currently operating in an unknown. The one thing I do want to call out is organizations are in the same space. So organizations are also learning and also trying to sort of keep up with this entire change and deal with this situation we currently are in. So you guys aren't alone out there. It's, I think, everybody, like the beauty, and I call it the beauty of this entire scenario, which is global, is that it's become a common playing field. It's truly a leveler. Initially, it was an employer's market, then it became an employee market. All these trends have basically completely balanced. And this entire scenario has just put everyone at a very, very interesting level playing field. Now, how do you make this level playing field to your benefit? So actually, I really do echo what Sean was saying. There are two main aspects that have to be very, very carefully curated. So number one, the interaction that you have is going to be bite-sized, right? So everything that you're going to do right now is going to be bite-sized. So everything that you do has to now be sharp. So sharpness in communication is something that really needs to be brought out and thought through, because it's difficult normally to basically portray an entire idea in, two very sharp, succinct lines. So two things I want to state over here in terms of how do you make virtual connections. Number one, make yourself relevant to an individual, not necessarily to a large organization. So for example, let me say this. So say the Tata Group, right? The main essence of Tata Group is trust, loyalty, impact. These are, the three things that anybody who has heard of the group would say. When you're applying to the group, the best thing to do is look at the recruiter on LinkedIn, see what the recruiter's interests are, and then appeal to those. If you're able to appeal to those or appeal to a functional interest, there's direct spike. Over here, it is going to take much more effort in making an application, because the application needs to be relevant to a role, a function, or a person. It could be relevant to any of these three, but there has to be relevance in that. The second bit over here is, the beauty is truly borders have opened up. So you could be sitting anywhere in the globe working, again, in literally the opposite end. So I could be in the US working for an Australian company, and this pandemic has allowed that to happen. You can, virtual working has essentially opened its doors. So your pool initially could have potentially been a city. Some people were very, very, if you're working physically in a space, your area, your circumference is basically that one city. Imagine how large your base has now become. So truly, while most people may say that this is a scary time, etc., etc., yes, business is tough. Nobody's denying that. While business is being tough, I think the doors of the entire universe are open, and I think that is something that you guys really need to research and explore on. So three main bits. You guys are going through a pandemic as our organization, so literally same boat, I promise you. I work for one, I know it. I'm speaking from the other side. So really, we are grappling as much as you all are. So keep that in mind when you all are approaching.
Fantastic, thank you. Raman, I'm going to go to you next.
Right, I think for fantastic views, firstly, Ms. Rhea and Sean, I think I couldn't agree more. The only other thing is definitely, I think building an online brand is just sharing from what I just shared in my slides as well. My younger self, if I could be in this digital age and market myself the way people do these days, I think it's quite astonishing the way communities like on YouTube are kind of blossoming from literally no one to becoming someone overnight is incredible. And I think taking cues from that really definitely puts you in the right driver's seat. That could apply in any industry you want to be a part of. So it's very subjective to, of course, what you want to do. If your interests are more technical and very much manufacturing oriented, then it's a different story. You've got to approach it differently. But even then, I think if you were to kind of look at the fact that you've got communities like on Quora, for that matter, where people ask a lot of questions, get answered. I think that itself kind of brings your profile, your brand index quite high up, and that kind of gets influenced in all the kind of building the brand persona. So all these things, definitely, I think having vlogs, what a tremendous option, really. What you just said as well, Nalin. I think presenting yourself in a better format than just on a paper-based CV. I think these are some great things. So definitely, I think with the given age, and definitely with post-COVID-19, the entire paradigm shifting, it's important that the only message I would want to drive home is the fact that embracing digital is the only thing people can really do at this time.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I'm still part of the generation that remembers the times where you used to apply through the newspaper and see what adverts were posted once a week published. So, I think employers are much more accessible now, much more approachable. There's been a massive shift in employers moving to more of a a value system, and that helps, I think, employees to be able to align themselves better with organizations so that they can really understand what is a good fit. So I definitely agree, having that online brand and being able to be creative in how you approach employers as well is great in this day and age. And the same with you, Ria. I agree that it has opened the door. There aren't those regional or geographical boundaries that there used to be, either for employees or employers. So they can access the best person, not just the best local person. So it is opening those doors. Riddhi, is there anything you would like to add?
I think I'm just trying to unmute myself. Am I audible now? Okay, great. I think pretty much Ria, Shan, and Raman kind of covered whatever I had to say, but I think one very quick tip that I've learned myself from my experience, and also the very common mistakes that I see some of my peers who are recent grads who are making, are only focusing on applying to the Times top 100 in the UK, or just the top companies wherever we are. But we don't kind of see the potential that medium, small, and even micro businesses have, especially in terms of hiring during COVID. If you kind of look at the statistics, at least in the UK, we can pretty much say that MSMEs are more out for hiring during this COVID season than corporate employers when it comes to graduate recruitment. So it's keeping those doors open to any organization and looking at the medium and small scale organizations along with corporates. I think that could be a very good tip. So tailoring your online presence and your CVs to match those companies' values can also help. And another very quick point I've learned from my very own mistake is that on LinkedIn, it's connecting not just with everyone and anyone, but it's with that very niche audience that you want to attract. Because initially, because I wanted to build my network, I went and sent requests to everyone and anyone. But then once I started kind of customizing my CV to the audience that I want to attract, especially now that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm looking for investment, that's definitely made a huge impact to the people who approach me. And all of those kind of conversations lead to a potential conversion. And that is very, very important when we look at converting just your online presence to something tangible.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Riddhi. Okay, so just to lead on from that, being that employers are more accessible and that the geographical boundaries are down, students, and we've mentioned this before, I think Shan, you mentioned it, opportunities are overwhelming now in terms of what's on offer. So what would your advice be to help our graduate and alum maintain a sense of resilience during this time? Because it's not just obviously the employment market, it is also what's going on with the global pandemic. And we hear frequently from students, oh, I've sent loads of applications over the last few weeks. it can dent their confidence. What's your advice around maintaining an element of resilience? And I'm going to start with Raman this time.
Had a bit of a difficulty really hearing that out. Could you just repeat that, Nadine? Just sorry for that.
So students and alumni in this climate are finding it difficult to maintain a sense of resilience. Employers are much more accessible now than they used to be. But equally, I think the number of job rejections is increasing as a result as well, because they're applying. It's easier to apply these days, isn't it? Because the market is just open, so the number of rejections is obviously going to go up. What's your advice to those students, graduates and alum on maintaining an element of resilience?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is that you can't be spraying and praying for this. Definitely, I think I can share my own example. I think I was pretty much, very nervous to start with when I did that activity. I think at that time, networking wasn't as good as it is. I hardly could find people on LinkedIn, and I think even if I did, people hardly cared to connect with me back on then. I think the kind of advice I would give is definitely to search the right kind of profile for yourself, connect with the right sort of person. Definitely, these are the basics. But more importantly, I think it's important to also know where your key interests lie, because at the end of the day, it's all about projecting yourself, your USP, as I call it. So as long as you're quite clear in your value proposition as to what you're really building and how you're presenting yourself, that becomes the key. And also, just kind of following on from what Ms. Riddhi said, applying onto the if you're looking at working at a place where it's if you're applying to a large corporate, there is definitely more competition there, and there's a risk of rejection. But I would always say, find out the the small to medium companies in any country, like be it India or be it in the UK or wherever, because these are the companies which are looking at you more for your skills rather than just what you put down on your CV. I found it as well. My start was incidentally as an SME company. They were a company who started out from the university as a spin-off, and not only were they innovative, they were focused on R&D. They ticked all the boxes which I wanted to tick off, and it was so comforting for me as well that my first job environment was not a typical workplace. It was just a university, so I was coming into work just like I would normally and do my job, and I settled into that role quite easily. So you need to find out those comfort factors as well, what really the kind of makes it comfortable for you. I think the comfort factor is very important, because even if you land yourself a foot in the door, it's important to kind of sustain that through, and have a long journey ahead, because it's a marathon, and it's just not for the it's not a sprint really, it's a marathon. So I would say having the clear interest in what you're doing, what you need to do, and where you want to really work at, that knowledge and that bit of clarity is important, and then looking at broader options. So as I said, now these days I would say not even on SME companies, but even if you get a freelance role or a consultant job, it might help you to become more dependent upon just yourself rather than anyone else, because you could start a one-person company, you could be a freelancer, you could offer your services to people, and eventually that becomes a good career option as well. So definitely these are some of the things which I would say. And resilience only builds when you start getting rejections. I think the more rejections you get, you just get stronger by that. I got that as well. And a small anecdote there really. So we ended up as a person, I applied to Shell, because as a chemical engineer, you would work for the best oil and gas company out there. They were paying the most, they were the most impressive, and they were the most the most amazing company to work for at that time. And I applied to them. I got through the final assessment center rounds, went down to London for the assessment centers. It was very daunting if you're a student of only 18, 19, just trying to find your way in and trying to do that. It was very, very daunting, of course. And I froze. I froze in one of the rounds, which ultimately became a decider for me, and I couldn't land the job. But that doesn't mean life comes a full circle, and now we work with Shell as a client. Shell as a company will invest into us as well, which is a great thing. Which is, of course, just puts the entire circle into place and makes you feel. Of course, it was a proud moment for me when all of that happened, when as part of Simulanis. But I think one thing which really brought me to kind of notice was that it's all about never giving up, and that's what resilience is all about. And I think there's a nice bit of concept which is also online. I can point the students into that direction. It's a concept of being anti-fragile, which is a concept which, if people can search on Google, it's a philosophy, which is being pioneered by one of the authors based out of MIT. And this is an entire series on anti-fragile. It's a very nice kind of a blog which he's built on it. I think that really gives you strength to handle the most unforeseen circumstances, because nobody knew what COVID would do ultimately, what it did. People who received offers, they are on the back bench. They don't know when the jobs are going to start. So it's so uncertain that you just can't pinpoint as to what will work. So definitely my thing is that resilience is the only thing you have right now. I think that you got to showcase that down to the T.
Thank you, Raman. I totally agree. Back in the day, I did exactly the same at Coca-Cola. I got through to the final round. So I can, it does help to build character and identify. And that was back in the day before careers, before it was my career to help them recruit. So, it does come full circle. So it's around, I think, looking at some of the feedback you get maybe and seeing how constructively that can help you going forward. Sean, what are your thoughts on maintaining resilience in these difficult times?
Sorry, I dropped off for a bit. I think I was having problems. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what Raman just talked about, and I also fully recommend Nassim Taleb, Skin in the Game and Anti-Fragile are great books that you guys would want to read, as you're starting out. I think to sort of talk about resilience and just the adaptation to a new economy, I want to take a step back and just talk about the nature of work that we're really seeing happen and the type of economy we're participating in right now. You see, we like to view the world as being linear. So you'll think about this as being sort of 8 hours of work, 8 hours of output. But what you do, who you do it with, how you do it, outcomes that are, that are basically driven by these non-linear events. And all of that is driven by the quality of work you're doing. And so fundamentally, you want to view yourself as this sort of modern knowledge worker athlete. And in that, you want to see yourself as someone who trains hard, who sprints, who sort of is able to rest after that and then reassess, get your feedback loop and reassess and go again. And so you're seeing the information age basically bring that freedom of expression and autonomy down to every single person, because while there's a creator economy and there's a passion economy, companies too are embracing that sort of agility and passion and environments in which you can truly be autonomous. So what's happening is that the whole model of employment, we're oftentimes thinking about employment as being this sort of rigid structure in which you're going to work for somebody. But what's ending up happening, because the power shift is so dominant, and I memean, large companies will talk about this as well, is that the information age is basically reversing the industrial age. And so when you think about this from a theoretical perspective, there's this theory in economics which basically talks about your internal cost of transaction versus external costs. And what we've seen happen over the last 20 years is that it's become more and more easier for you to do things externally, which is why you're seeing sort of these little pieces of businesses and industries get shaved off and large industries come up as a result of that. So you take the sort of the rental vacation market in Craigslist, it's now Airbnb. So that's like an example of how industries have basically disintermediated and disrupted themselves into these new structures altogether. And so what's happening in that fashion is that as in this gig economy, it's really easy to kind of hire people, to rate people, to pay them small amounts of money, to do sort of these contract jobs. And what you're going to see happen is that you're going to see high and high quality work emerge in that fashion. Right now, we're seeing a lot of commoditization. So you'll see large technology sort of aggregators that are differentiated in technology have these sort of commoditized roles. So you take something like Uber or like the Deliveroo concept where you'll have a technology backed by commoditized talent. But what you end up happening also is that you'll see technology enable access to creative talent. So we're basically at the dawn of the era of emotional intelligence. And what you want to recognize is the fact that there are a tremendous amount of opportunities that are emerging and prominent in allowing you to have the freedom of expression and autonomy. So in this day and time, in this time when COVID is basically accelerating us into the future, I would really take a step back and say, what can I do to participate in this economy today? Because the moment you start to do that, even when companies want to evaluate you, they're going to love hiring people that have done something by participating in a no-code or low-code stack, build a website, build content, start a channel, something of that sort that does capture your expression and your freedom and your autonomy and what you want to truly be involved with. So I think it really is about recognizing that we're living at an amazing time in which every single person in this sort of positive sum society is going to be able to work for themselves, whether they're doing it for themselves or for a company in the platform. And that's really positive. We're not these sort of modern factory workers that are rote learning and memorizing and doing things by instruction. Companies want agility, they want adaptation, they want independent thinking, they want to ultimately build autonomous cultures. And I think that's the most valuable thing that you're going to come across today. And as a company, we're fundamentally changing our business, and we've rebranded, we've evolved our operating model. Why? Because we want to attract the best talent. We want people who've had international education, amazing exposure and experiences to be able to say, I want to work at TC Global because they're doing something phenomenal. So companies are equally sort of challenged in this time, as Ria was saying earlier, and saying that how do we figure out to be attracting the best talent? That's both for companies that are being disrupting, but also those that have been disruptable in this sort of internet age. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really about like recognizing where you are right now and being able to take amazing opportunities and capitalize on this internet information age in which you have this mass infrastructure distribution, in which you have enormous opportunity to do something valuable.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shan. That was fantastic. Ria, Riddhi, have you anything that you would like to add to this?
So there's actually one point over here which I would like to make. So first of all, actually, Raman and Sean. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah, you're okay. It's okay.
And fully, second all of them. The one piece I would like to say in terms of, at least in the corporate world is really changing, right? So initially you had the pyramid structure where you had people reporting into one another. Genuinely, the entire shift has occurred into network of teams. Now, when the shift is occurring, it is not just a reporting structure which is really changing. It is an entire new format of existence for an organization. So when we're talking about network of teams, we're basically talking about people who are highly qualified at their own levels with their respective roles, coming together, again, at an equal playing field to contribute the best they possibly can. So most people are going to be working in cross-functional teams. Most people are going to be working with people, across various levels. But the power dynamic is something which is now removed. The other change of format, as already mentioned, actually, I think by Sean and Raman both, the entire gig format. So even when you join the corporate world, okay, so when I joined the corporate world, I was slotted in, okay, so I was like, okay, so my first job was actually British Petroleum. So I'm like, okay, you're going to be doing international mobility. And for the first 3 years of my life, that's what I was doing, just international mobility. Now, as we go forward, I currently just do different projects which are existent. So do I have a specific role which says, hey, this is your one core area? Not really. The function is within the HR space, but whatever it is I want to do within the HR space, the organization allows me to do it if I have the skill to go ahead and do it. So there are two things you need to be very, very aware of. Self-management is going to be right up there with digitization. So digitization and self-management are two skills which are going to be imperative going forward. What does self-management mean? Resilience is a very, very strong part of it. And I know you guys are literally being burnt and learning the toughest way possible, but trust me, in the long run, this will really stand in very, very good stead. You guys are dealing with a tough environment, and it's just going to make you tougher. It's going to allow you to be, it's going to teach you how to push. It's going to teach you how to be adaptive and how to manage yourself. And that is a quality that is required right up there with digitization. And actually, this is something which was published by the Economic Forum very, very recently. I'd advise you guys to actually look at it. It's skills required in 2025. It was really an eye-opening article with regards to how much self-management really features over there. So the corporate world is really changing, and it's changing, I think, as fast as the world that you all are currently existent in. So don't view yourselves in these silos saying that, okay, I'm a mechanical engineer, so this is the only thing I can or will do. Please, envelope your interests along with your functional studies and see what best you can offer the organization.
Thank you.
If I could just add one thing. Sorry, Nolan, if I can just add one thing to what Ria just said.
Yeah, go for it.
There's this saying out of I forget who said this. Is a philosopher that said this, that basically humans are multivariate, and I think what Ria is talking about is really emphasizing that, is that we tend to get summarized over a period of our lives, but and we think that specialization is going to make us really high value and in demand, but really speaking, we're all multivariate, we're all capable of every single experience. And so what you want to do is avoid getting summarized, and know that you're essentially capable of every single experience possible out there. So specialization is for insects. We're human, so we want to be able to actually live in this fluid world and absorb different things and learn quickly and really dive deep in things that interest us. And I think that's great about this new economy as well.
Oh, thank you for that, Riddhi.
Yeah, I think I'd like to make very quick 2 points. Actually, one is very much resonating with what Ria said, which is around definitely having that perseverance and resilience. Because when I applied for my job opportunities back in 2015, 2016, I was stuck not by the pandemic, but by Brexit, which again led to a very critical situation. And I want to kind of say it here on record that I applied to 60 firms, out of which I got interviews to 20 and finally landed up with 2 job offers. So that's the number that you're kind of looking at. So one biggest tip is always be perseverant. And the second most important lesson that I've learned out of, getting rejected from employers is being strategic about the approach. It's not applying to everywhere and anywhere, but having a strategic plan on who are we applying to, and not having all the eggs in one basket, but applying to diverse opportunities. It can be the size of the firms that you're applying to, or it can be in different areas and sectors that you're applying to, but the key skills that match to your job role. And another important tip when we kind of speak about resilience is not applying to companies that don't match with your value system, because it's very evident after you go through a certain phase, if your values don't match with their values, the HR managers can find it out, and you know that you're not going into the organization being happy. So I would at any cost avoid avoid applying to organizations that don't match up to the values. But in terms of, now currently with COVID, how do we kind of apply to employers, especially at this stage when, a lot of the rejection rate at bigger companies are likely to be higher? Is actually looking at various other platforms apart from just LinkedIn. And I've recently, through high flyers and a number of other reports, I've read that employers are using more digital recruitment agencies, graduate specific recruitment agencies to recruit. And I think Debut is a good one to look at, because you need to put in your CV and whatever you kind of represent, and the employers will pick you. So give them a chance as well. So instead of just being a one-sided approach, that would be another kind of learning that I have. And another point I'd like to make is utilize the university research centers, because they have a number of opportunities for recent graduates which are paid for by corporate organizations. So tapping into these opportunities can definitely help, facing rejections and coping up with rejections during this pandemic.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the panel event. So I'd like to get your final thoughts, if you would, and potentially look as well at addressing, I think a theme that's coming through from a lot of the graduates attending today is what are employers looking for? And I know you've touched on this in a number of different areas when you've spoken about resilience and attributes, but if you could sum it up in maybe your top 3 attributes, skills or characteristics that you feel in the current climate would really benefit a graduate going forward, or something they can look at addressing, that would be great, along with your final thoughts. So I'm going to go to Ria first. So Ria, what are your final thoughts?
Okay, so to sum this up, look at this. So first of all, the entire outlook, and I'm sure it's easier said than done. The outlook over here needs to be a positive one. It needs to be viewed as an opportunity, because truly this scenario is an opportunity. This entire batch, nobody nobody has got the kind of expanse and the doors opening across the globe as much as you guys have. So it genuinely is an opportunity. It does mean more hard work from your end. But if you're able to switch this view from, oh my God, pandemic, and I'm just going to end up unemployed and living alone and your negative entire bubble, it's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help you guys or anybody else. So please view this in the best possible format of how this can be an opportunity and make it an opportunity for you guys. So that's one definite bit that we'd want to put out there. From an organization perspective, okay, look, there are multiple organizations out there and different sizes and different values. When you're looking to join an organization, please always do work which is within your area of interest. Reason being is, if it's within your area of interest, no matter what you do, we hope that you will be great at it. And that is how you build credibility. Building credibility is something which will A, stay with you forever, and B, it starts from the get-go. So building credibility literally starts with as simple as your grades at university. So you need to have that credibility being built up, and you need to constantly work at it. This is not something that you create overnight. It is these small, bite-sized little bits that you do on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, that in the end creates this entire complete package a recruiter looks at. So please invest in building this credibility from day one, hopefully in an area of interest. So you need to also do a little bit of soul searching to understand what that area of interest is. Like, what keeps you awake at night? What makes you drive that 10% harder? If you get these two things done, I would say 90% of the battle is sorted. Moving away from this entire corporate world, and I'm sure there's a lot of information out there and you guys must be reading tons of stuff. I would just say be there for one another, be it your friends, be it your family, be it, a larger society. You really need to be there for one another because humanity in itself is being tested, and you come out strong there, you will win any battle. These are three very basic things. I am happy to sort of connect with you guys. Any other questions you need to ask which are more HR specific or Tata specific, we're happy to take those on. Wish you all the very best. And this is genuinely a very, very interesting time. Please use this to the best possible way you guys can.
Thank you, Ria. Appreciate that. Riddhi, I'm going to go to you next.
Sure. Well, I believe, with every crisis, there are winners and losers. And, with the pandemic, there are organizations in particular sectors which emerge as winners. I won't say losers, but I'm going to say there are other organizations which have setbacks and they are building on working those. So I would say as a top tip is to focus on those sectors. In my opinion, as Raman earlier in his presentation highlighted, are, the healthcare sector, the pharma sector, the IT, and the logistics sector. These are some of the growing sectors. So try and tailor your CV and the skills that you've gained from your degree to apply for opportunities in these sectors. And I have personally helped 3 students, graduates during this pandemic, get into jobs in these particular sectors. And I'm very happy that all of them have been successful. So that's a tried and tested model that's worked for people I've worked with. So that's one of the lessons that I've learned and would like to share. Alongside it, the 3 top skills that I believe that employers currently are looking at is definitely digital skills, your communications and your sales skills. And thirdly, I would say networking. It's about connecting and tapping into that right opportunity. So I think as long as all of these are in place, then you know that this is a very good experience for you and you can even survive this pandemic. Having said that, I'm more than happy to connect with audience here today. And unfortunately, we are just a startup, so we don't kind of offer any kind of a big salary to start with. But I'm a recent graduate myself 2 years ago, and we all know that vicious cycle. You need an experience to get a job, and you need a job to get that experience. So, I mean, as an organization and as someone who's experienced it myself, I'd like to open doors to anybody who's looking to gain experience in the digital technology field, in recruitment. Happy to connect and happy to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Riddhi. I appreciate that. Okay, can I go to Raman now, please? And then Sean, I'll go to you last to wrap up.
I think I covered most of the things, but just to sum it all up and make it very simple to understand and cut down. Two sections which are important in your CV. One, the transferable bit, and then the technical bit. I think from a transferable skill set perspective, you really need to have a very strong people management skill. That's very important, especially in today's day and age. I can tell you for a fact, 99% of the times I'm just people managing. And that also includes a lot of firefighting, but that's what you do on a daily basis. Be good at that, and that's very important. Negotiation, I think that's a very unsaid thing. You need to be a good negotiator. You just can't take anything up for the taking, so it's very important to negotiate well. Be more entrepreneurial, I think, in your thought process. I think be fearless. I think thinking more from an entrepreneurial hat really prepares you for a lot of difficult challenges in life. So perseverance and being anti-fragile and being resilient kind of comes on its own. Emotional intelligence is very important, more than the IQ part. I believe it's the emotional intelligence which is important. Having a balanced head on your shoulders is key, and that makes you a good decision maker as well eventually, which really helps you as a leader. Definitely. And then lastly, on the technical side, cannot stress highly on being a good digital marketer. Even if you're a technical person, you need to sell well, because even if you do have a LinkedIn profile, the first thing you would do is write a post for yourself. So that is marketing and that is content building. So you need to build your brand up there, and you need to kind of build something which people can identify you with. That's very important. For my experience, I would always say, if you're a hardcore technical person with engineering degrees, do learn a bit of finance. Of course, the finance people will have those skills, so that's amazing. That's good to go anyways. Analytics, it's very important. Be a data miner. Have a strong knack for data. I think that really is a new age cutting edge skill. I think that can kind of have a crossover in anything which you do. So having a kind of an eye for detail and that data piece is very important, and I think it helps you and build yourself into a more kind of a holistic person as well. So these are my kind of thoughts on just summing up what I presented and what I kind of spoke about in this session as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Raman. I have seen that actually quite a lot recently, is that they're predicting from 2022, most jobs will have an element of programming or digital skills required to, enable this agile workplace that we are seeing at the moment. Sean, what would you like to add?
Yeah. So since we're talking about specific skills, to begin with, I'd just say that in context of whatever you're going to end up doing, every single role out there today has some sort of a stack that it's operating on. So learn to use that stack and get good at it. Whether you're going into analytics, or you're going into communications, you're going into marketing, whatever it may be, ultimately you want to learn that stack. So some sort of really important skills that I think everybody should learn, even though hardly everybody kind of invests time into it, but learning to code or write on a low-code stack is actually really, really valuable. Learning to write is really valuable. Learning to create some sort of creative would be really interesting and valuable as well. Project management and being able to sort of manage projects, I think, is something that in the new economy is becoming more and more prominent. So and distribution, sort of marketing and distribution and social, I think, is really critical skills. Beyond this, what I would say is that coming back to the first point I made around the abundance of information, the modern struggle is sort of characterized by us going on Netflix, spending 30 minutes to decide what show we're going to watch. So learning to resist that abundance is really central to you being able to have a calm, collected mind, because the calm, collected mind is going to function and make better judgments and decisions in a world of infinite leverage. That same distribution that is creating this abundance for us is also giving us infinite leverage. So I think it's really important to recognize that. The last two things I would say is that we're really at the dawn of an era in which emotional intelligence is becoming more and more valuable as every possible skill becomes more and more commoditized in one way, shape, or form. And so what companies have got to figure out is who are the people that are making us miserable and who are those that are actually creating a more constructive and collaborative work and spirit environment. So I think you want to really invest your time in expanding your emotional and creative horizon and reducing time worrying about skills that in a couple of years are going to be redundant anyway. So being resourceful, but at the same time ensuring that you have the emotional intelligence to understand the world around you and just work well with people I think will go a long way. So yeah, I mean, those would be some final points I'd like to make, because I think everybody's covered a bunch of important stuff, and everybody's got to figure this out for themselves. At the end of the day, no matter what you hear from anybody, practice will ultimately allow you to drive the precision that you're looking for in your life. So just get out there and start trying things. If you have a mission already, you're lucky, because you know what you want to do with your life. You have a purpose. But for those that don't have it, figure shit out. Excuse me for language. Just go out there, try things, and get involved. And I think you'll figure things out that really interest you, and kind of you get gravitated towards. So we're in a very interesting time, guys. COVID is a massive accelerant, and I think we're at a really interesting time. In the aftermath, we'll see that it's net positive, even though it has enormous negative consequences from a health standpoint.
Thank you for that, Sean. I appreciate that. So I'd just like to say thank you to my panel today. It's been fantastic, and I've learned quite a lot as well. And Raman, thank you for being our keynote today. Fantastic slides. This session has been recorded, and we will make it available to you as soon as possible. We will also make the slides available, and Ria, that article that you mentioned about 2025, work in 2025, it'd be great to get that link and share that out. And if any of you as well want to share any LinkedIn profiles or anything, send it to us, and we'll share that out to our guests today that attended. Thank you to our audience for attending today. It's been fantastic with the questions. And we hope to do this again soon. It was our very first one for ever, so we're looking to hold more of these. I think it's been really good. We've got some fantastic insights across a variety of sectors, and I hope we can build on this. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Great being here. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.